All right, so this video is going to be a quick breakdown of the more recent Xtreem music digipack releases of some of these death metal recordings. I went through and ended up purchasing the 9 top old school death metal recordings for about 120 US dollars, shipped to my door in very speedy shipping. Came out to about 12 bucks each digipack. And what I'm going to do today is take you through these 9 and tell you how they compare in sound to all of the older versions that were previously released. So, band Sinister, Perpetual Damnation demo looks like this. Here's the digipack, and what it is the Perpetual Damnation 1990 demo, which came out on this version of the Blood Pass initially. What I discovered by doing a comparison about 3 times back and forth, each one, was that they were from a different audio source, and the Xtreem music version was remastered in a different way, remixed in a different way, with a completely different audio source, and it does sound good. So it's a nice alternate version of what you'd get on the Blood Past. The only complaint that I had about this particular one was that they mislabeled this Cross the Sticks lineup and put a bass player over here. This guy plays guitar on the debut album, Cross the Sticks, and then on the second heralded album too. Awesome guitar player. I saw this guy live in concert. And down here it says, some bass player. Well, in fact, it was this guy who played bass on all of these demo recordings, but not the albums. And so this image is literally incorrect for this lineup for Perpetual Damnation demo. Next up, we've got Macabre End, who was formerly God Macabre. Initially Macabre End, and they changed the name. But a lot of you know God Macabre and the Winter Long. There was a reissue of the debut album that in fact had these 3 tracks on it from the Consumed Darkness demo. And it's an exact copy. This Consumed by Darkness sounds exactly like the 3 tracks that are on the reissue version of the Winter Long. So it's kind of redundant, but this demo is so great that it's kind of cool to have this digipack. I hope to be spinning this demo on its own just because I own this extra one, and just a nice appreciation for Consumed by Darkness, which is a great demo. The same is the case for this Cryptopsy Ungentle Exhumation demo. This one here I've already got on a CD, but I do notice that this thing is becoming a little more difficult to obtain. Like the last time I checked Discogs, the prices were going up and it was becoming more rare. My only complaint is that although it was the exact same sound between these two, I did feel that this one was possibly a little bit more punchy than this exact digital duplication. It's the exact same sound, but this sounds like maybe a CDR rip copy of what you've got over here. And by the way, I do love that it looks like you get the original cassette tape cover here, and the CD itself is rather fun. Look at that. Isn't that sweet? So I'll be keeping that because of the enlarged art. I like this extra big copy of art. And when I show off my CDs via pictures, it'll be nice to kind of show this one. It looks really cool. Again, it's still worth it. And especially if you're not getting the original cassette, this is a nice option to get this digipack. Moving on to some other ones here. We've got the Crematory, the Exordium, and this is definitely worth it because this reissue that I got of the debut mini LP, the Denial mini LP, it really doesn't sound too good on Necroharmonic. In fact, I deduced that none of these demos sound good at all, except for this very last one, Netherworlds of the Mind. The only reason to get this thing, if you don't have the original mini LP, is to get this last demo here. Xtreem Music definitely did a good job on cleaning up the Exordium demo, which is these tracks right here. Sounds much better, and now I've got a newfound appreciation for Crematory. Hearing this demo the way it should be, it's nicely cleaned up. I'm not going to say it's a masterpiece because it's low-tune, murky Swedish death metal that's just kind of, swampy anyway. but it sounds great. Not near as punchy as Sinister, but in the same realm of Macabre End. But it definitely sounds better than the Necromonic version. Moving on to the Mortician. Good job, Xtreem Music, on cleaning up the demo number 1. I had originally a bootleg version of the Mortician demo that sounded like horse shit. And then I got this version, which came out kind of recently, and this is on Necroharmonic. And this digipack has got the same 1990 demo and 89 rehearsal as the first 6 tracks of this right here, but sounds way better. Just nice and cleaned up, much more punchy in the bass, and a much more enjoyable listen. All of these tracks on Necromonic are pretty much just shit. So I can pretty much throw out this entire disc 1 because I've got this release now. The only reason to get this Necromonic version is because of on disc 2, the Live in Buffalo 1990 is a really cool recording. The vocals are fucking killer, but the Live Day of Death is not too good either. So really, I mean, if you're gonna buy this guy right here, just, this disc 2, the first tracks are the best here. These are not too bad, but it's definitely cleaned up with the Xtreem version. The only thing I didn't like about the Xtreem version is that it had this kind of horrible album cover. I like this album cover better. I like this album cover better. I like these tracks over here on disc 2, but I like the sound of the demo here, which replaces anything you get on this over here. So I wish I could combine these and have the best of both worlds, but for now I've got 2 Morticians. Their demos are legendary. Moving on to Flesh Crawl. I found out by listening to this entire disc, this is the Flesh Crawl demos along with the Suffocation demos back when they were called Suffocation, that this Raw Skull Records, all of these songs are pretty much horse shit. The only good track on the entire disc is track 11, which is Lost in the Grave, which is one of the tracks from the 7-inch, which, funny enough, the first track sounds good, but the second one doesn't. And this right here, the Festering Flesh demo, sounds like total shit. What happened was Xtreem came in, reissued that Festering Flesh. It's only 4 tracks, but now sounds really great. So I'm really happy to own this really killer looking album art. The disc itself looks really cool. The back looks really nice. It's a great picture. It's the best of the demo, from Flesh Crawl. So now finally a great Flesh Crawl demo. I'm really happy about that and doing those comparisons there. Necrophagia. They put out The Nightmare Continues, which is a really cool demo recording. And it also has some bonus tracks from the EP over here. I found out that I did have this CD from Xtreem Records called Death is Fun, which has the exact same tracks, but on Xtreem version, it sounds perhaps a little bit better. They did add 1 track that was missing from the demo, which is on this comp over here. And then over here with the unreleased 7-inch, those tracks are also on here, but there was one that was added called Return to Life, which is actually mislabeled. It's actually the Intense Mutilation track, and Intense Mutilation on here is actually the song called Death is Fun. And you can hear that in the vocals when he says Death is Fun over and over again. That's the lyrics for the entire song. So a little bit of confusion back and forth. I know that Xtreem is going to put out a compilation of Necrophagia demos, and they repeated that same kind of miscommunication between these 2 versions, the Xtreem and Xtreem. But in any case, Necrophagia is classic, one of the first death metal albums in the world, first death metal bands in the world, and I thought this was pretty cool, just the way it is. It does sound a little bit cleaned up compared to this Death is Fun version. This is still a really tasty comp, and this is kind of a cool addition as well. Same cover art. Moving on to Massacre. Classic Tampa, Florida. What I realized from this Aggressive Tyrant demo was the importance of all of the early cast, including Alan West and Cam Lee and Terry Butler and Bill Andrews and Rick Ross and the crew from Obituary and Death and Morbid Angel, and how closely related all these guys were. I did a full research on Massacre and Mantis and Death and got the names and took names and kicking ass. This Aggressive Tyrant demo was 1986, and it is a fucking classic in death metal. I highly recommend getting the Aggressive Tyrant from Xtreem Records, this digipack here, because these three tracks have never sounded so good. I mean, like Death Mutilation demo is an ultimate classic. This Aggressive Tyrant demo from Massacre is just godly. It also includes a unreleased rehearsal. The tracks were also available on Tyrants of Death compilation, but what I noticed is that the demo here didn't sound very good with the first track. The track 7 and 8 sounded okay, but it's definitely cleaned up on the Xtreem Records version. The bonus live material, the live, to hear Camley live, was really cool. So again, this Massacre Tyrants of Death compilation is still worth getting. I didn't care for that first demo, but you do have some of the tracks from Aggressive Tyrant pretty decent. The live recording is really good. And then definitely this Aggressive Tyrant is a must-buy. The final one is from New York, Buffalo, New York, same as Cannibal Corpse. They're Baphomet and Boiled in Blood. So the 7-inch EP and the live EP, Boiled in Blood, both sound really good. Great comp right there. I noticed that the same tracks were available on this guy right here. And this is much more thrashy, following Cannibal Corpse's footsteps. So after Eaten Back to Life, the same time and location, Buffalo, New York, Baphomet was copying kind of the sound of Eaten Back to Life. And then when Cannibal Corpse recorded Butchered at Birth, Baphomet kind of followed suit and recorded their debut album a little while later with the same tracks, but with the heavy-ass production as Butchered at Birth. And so you can see how the coattails are ride from the early thrashy stuff to the a little more complex and punchy, thrashier Eaten Back to Life sound, and then the same tracks re-recorded as a Butchered at Birth style. So it was really cool to do a research on Baphomet last night. Really great band. I thought this sounded really good, and it's worth a pickup. A lot of the same tracks are repeated right here, but it's a nice art. It's a nice addition to my Baphomet collection. So there you have it, 9 tracks. Thanks for watching.